Hey, what's going on guys? My name is Rampage and welcome to my first, I believe it's my first, Q&A video. Now, I have no idea what I'm going to call this series, but for now it's just going to be called Q&A. But yeah, I asked on the yttalk.com forums and I got a few questions, so I can actually make a video on it. So that's cool. Anyway, the first question is, favorite console game, asked by Xandertunes. Well, I don't know, if you're talking about, like, of all time, favorite console game, and I assume you're talking about exclusives, right? So, I'd have to say, well, because I never played any of the exclusives after Uncharted 3, or even next gen, so I'd have to say Killzone 2, and purely based on it feeling different, you know, the cutscenes actually looked really nice. I think they were made in, I don't know, it looked like they were made in 1080p, but, you know, at the time, I was kind of like, anyway, I don't know what I'm doing here, but, yeah, Killzone 2, because it felt different. It felt different to Call of Duty, to Battlefield, and all that sort of stuff, so I enjoyed it a lot more than I did anything else at the time. So I was like, alright, this is new, it's cool, I'll keep playing it. And it's, to this day, probably one of my favorite shooters that I've ever played. But anyway, next question. What system do I use? Again, asked by Xandertunes. I play on PC. You've probably already tuned out, but yeah, I play on PC because of frame rate as well as resolution. Now, I'm not a PC elitist, but I do prefer PC over console. But from time to time, I do set up my PC to play on my actual TV, which is a 40-inch TV, and sit over there playing with a controller. So, you know, I do like console as well. It's just, yeah, I just prefer the native resolution as well as a higher than 60 frames per second frame rate, as well as the option to like tinker with my settings, or to, you know, go higher than 1080p, or, you know, just to, yeah, tinker with settings is basically it. But if I had to go back to console, I probably wouldn't anyway, because I play or use online all the time, and for me to actually invest in online on like PS4 or Xbox One would be really hard, because I don't have $60 to $70 or even $80, depending on how much it costs now, to spend just on multiplayer. And I have the mindset of, you know, if I buy a game that has multiplayer on it, I should be entitled to play that multiplayer game. You know, that's how I have always felt about PlayStation Plus. I knew it was going to be a paid service for multiplayer as well. I just knew it. You can go back and check my gaming news channel. I even said it in that video. But yeah, it's just a pain. So I probably won't go back to console until both Sony and Microsoft realize that you don't have to charge for multiplayer to have a dickload of people on your service. Origin, Uplay, Steam. Just a few DRM out there that actually have a shitload of people. Granted, both Origin as well as Uplay force you to use it, and it's kind of like a lot of people don't like those DRMs or those forms of DRM. But for me, I prefer Steam. So, anyway, that's a bit off topic, but a bit of background, I guess. But the next question is, what you most excited for about gaming in 2015? Asked by Maddie Green. Well, I don't really know what you mean by that, because that's a very broad question. It could be technology. It could be graphics cards. It could be cases. It could be anything to do with PCs. It could be some form of gaming tech thing. Could be games. You know, it could be anything. If we're looking at this as a technical side of gaming, then I would actually want to experience something called G-Sync or FreeSync. If you don't know what those are, basically what they are is, well, G-Sync is a physical thing in your monitor which kind of adds a variable refresh rate to your monitor. So if you go under the actual monitor's refresh rate, say 60 Hertz, and you're running a game at 40 Hertz, it'll try and alter the, or it will, because it has this little module thing, alter the refresh rate to fit the frame rate, which is kind of a little bit of a head fuck when you try to explain it, but without getting into uber technicals, like the uber technical side of things, that's basically what it is. And I'm excited for that. FreeSync is basically the exact same thing, but the AMD opposite. So G-Sync is NVIDIA's and FreeSync is AMD's. If you don't know who they are, they're basically the two GPU vendors or GPU manufacturers for PC. But yeah, that's basically what I'm looking forward to. I don't know whether I will be getting one of those monitors or a monitor that would support any of those features, but it would just be cool to actually use one, because they do cost a fair mint. It's like $500 to $1,000 just for a G-Sync monitor. So FreeSync, I believe, is just software, which is I think more interesting than actually having like a little dongle thing in the monitor. But anyway, the next question is, why did I start YouTube? Again, asked by Maddie Green. Well, I started YouTube purely based on sharing glitch videos with my friends. And I just want to say this because I've seen a lot of people in comments, not of my videos, but of other videos, where they try and kind of mix hacking in with glitching. Glitching is finding exploits within the game without using anything external, and hacking is using external exploits or external software to alter the game in some way. Just want to get that out there. But yeah, I used to find glitches in Call of Duty 4, COD 5, like out of maps, fucking launch. I don't know what they were, like bayonet glitches where you sort of like jump on top of buildings and stuff, like with the Uber lunge, that sort of thing. Like I found that enjoyable. Like that's what I like doing in Call of Duty or even any multiplayer game. I found that more enjoyable than the actual game itself, which I still find that more fun. It's just I like to finish games before I start glitching now. So yeah, I don't really find many glitches these days, but I do have a few on my gaming channel. I don't know if I have any. No, I think I moved them over to my gaming channel. Currently, I think I've got like maybe 6 or 7 on my gaming channel at the moment. So if you don't know what I'm referring to, just type on my channel the Rampage. Just type in glitches, click one of them, sit back and watch it. It's pretty amazing. Just put it lightly. But anyway, the next question is best and worst game of all time. Again, asked by Maddie Green. I can tell you offhand the worst game I've ever played, and that was The Witcher 1. Now, if you like that game, that's cool. But I hated the combat. I hated the voice acting. Just the gameplay in general. I don't know. I just didn't like it. It wasn't the different like fighting styles. It wasn't that. I actually liked that. It's just, it felt boring. There were so many bugs in that game and so many issues that I found annoying in the game. I just didn't like it. I didn't want to continue, but in order to actually get the best experience with The Witcher 3, I kind of had to beat it. So yeah, I'm kind of, yeah, that game is just shocking. The best game I've ever played, probably Alan Wake, and purely based on storytelling. If we were looking at it as a horror game, then it wouldn't be the best game I've ever played, because I don't really see that as a horror game. I see it as a thriller or a creepy game, sure, but I don't really know which. I'd put it in the adventure category over horror, because it's not really that scary that I'd put it in that category. But yeah, Alan Wake, definitely. The next question is, if I could design a game, what would I want to make? Again, asked by Maddie Green. Well, I would want to make a narrative-driven horror game, wait for it, that's not based around horrible atmospheric noise. A good example of that is Doorways. That game, it just randomly plays sounds for no apparent reason. I don't know why. Yeah, so no jump scares, ambient noise, but the ambient noise has to respond with objects within the world. Say if something moves, then you'll hear it, or be able to see it move and hear it, you know? I just feel like developers kind of just play random sounds that don't actually correspond with what's happening in the world. And I just kind of see that as really irritating. Like, I understand it's supposed to be scary, but I'm in a room right now and you don't hear chains like rustling up or leaves that aren't actually there just like rustling in the wind, do you? No. So why have that sort of thing in a game if it's not actually corresponding with what's going on in the world? I just find it really weird and annoying. So yeah, I'd make an experience that is actually scary that I probably wouldn't want to sit through. And for me, I feel that a horror game should be, or a successful horror game shouldn't be one of those games like Amnesia or, I don't know, Alien Isolation or even Outlast. Because Outlast, let's face it, if you get to, those, if you haven't played Outlast, there's like these bits in the game where there's kind of like two shelves or something and you can kind of like go through them, kind of like sneak through them. If you get to any of those sections while you're being chased, essentially on the other side, if you get to the other side, essentially, the guy chasing you will just eventually walk away like nothing ever happened. Now, if he actually broke through that and still started chasing me, then I would be more inclined to be afraid. Because I use that so much, or that idea, that I could actually avoid being dead, it kind of took the fear factor out of it. Now, if I didn't do that, it still wouldn't really feel scary, because it's just dark. If I'm afraid of the dark, then sure. A lot of the game is just in the dark, or a lot of it is dark-ish. For me, when I was playing that game, though, I didn't play with the post effects on, so I didn't have the night vision. Basically, what I had was a light on PC. If you get rid of post effects, it gets rid of the night vision for some reason. So, yeah, it's I don't know. Would that be cheating? I don't know. But yeah, Alien Isolation, I didn't find that scary at all. Yes, I did jump like a little bitch or a little girl, whichever way you want to look at it, a few times, but that was based on jump scares. It wasn't based on being scared within the environment. It wasn't a fear of the environment. And that's where I think that horror games are kind of deviated from, where they all think that horror involves a lot of jump scares. Well, you can have jump scares, but make the player feel scared in the environment. Make them feel worried about themselves, about their surroundings, Just, I haven't found a horror game to do that. Or make me feel that way in a game. So yeah, I'd create that experience. The next question is, what's your all-time favorite game and why? I think I've already answered this in the best and worst game I've ever played. But if I had to name a different game, I don't know. Probably Uncharted 1 or Uncharted 2, something like that. Because those games had a really compelling story, and the story actually related to what I was doing in the world. I was finding treasure and actually being the one to find the treasure, not just like going on a small path and finding treasure. I get it. It was a linear game, but it's I don't know. It still kept me engaged, which a lot of games haven't actually done. Which it kind of feels weird because games back then kept me engaged, but games are getting longer and less engaging. How do you guys feel about that? Do you think that? Do you have any of like? I don't know. How do you feel about that? How do you feel? But anyway, the next question. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that question was given by Hildania. The next question is, what game did you play recently and really enjoy? Again, asked by Hildania. The recent game that I played and actually enjoyed was called Wolf, the Red Hood Diaries, which is essentially a 2.5D game about the Red Riding Hood sort of thing, nursery rhyme sort of thing. I don't know, fable, I guess you could call it. Yeah, about that. It kind of feels like a mix between Trine and Alice Madness Returns, but I've seen a lot of people compare it to Alice Madness Returns, but you got to remember, these guys are indie. The people that developed that game are an indie studio. they've gotten a lot of like praise and a lot of hype behind the game, but a lot of people are forgetting that they're not a AAA studio. So I just want to get that out there, just for the people that don't know already, that have seen that game or want to actually know more about it. You can check out my gaming channel, or the link in the description, or on the video somewhere. Because I think I'll have this type of stuff, or the Q&As on my gaming channel actually, because originally I was going to have them on Madigan321, which is my news channel. But anyway, yeah. Wolf the Red Hood Diaries was pretty interesting game. What has been a high point in your life? Asked by, excuse me while I go back to the thread, because I totally forgot to put the guy's name in. Titchy Virus, cool name. What has been a high point in my life? I reckon going to uni for the first time, because it's a different experience going to uni and TAFE, right? The completely different environments, completely different, like, I don't know, outlook on their situation. Like in TAFE, I don't know, where I went, they kind of actually were more engaged. But in uni, it's the same, but it's more hands-on stuff in the course that I did. For most other courses, it probably won't be anything like that, because it was more like group work and stuff like that. Whereas a lot of other courses will probably, like, it was just a base course. It was a foundation studies course. But I still enjoyed it, even though I'm antisocial. So for me, being in a room and engaging with others in that sort of situation kind of helped me get out of that antisocial thing. But I'm still antisocial, just I kind of feel better around people than I did before, which is good, and it was a good experience for that alone anyway. If that's not what you're looking for, then I would say a high point in my life is going on a cruise, because that was really enjoyable, regardless of where I went, because it wasn't like some fancy place or anything like that, but it was still a cool experience. I enjoyed it so much. If it's not really a life-changing experience, but if you haven't done it already, you have to do it at least once in your life, because it is really fun. But yeah, that concludes this Q&A. But if you have any other questions that you would like me to answer, by all means leave them in the comments below, or even on my Facebook page or Twitter. The Twitter account that I use is at the start of the video, which is the Rampage 572, I think. Or you can like or join my Facebook group, which nobody has really done, but you can do it anyway, because that's where all my videos go. But yeah, I don't really know how to end this, but okay, so before I leave, I just want to say that I do want to start doing these sort of Q&A videos at least once a week. So yeah, by all means, put all the questions in the comments, because I think this is good. It's kind of good to actually get me to interact with people. That's a good idea. But anyway, please don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.